we get into the video, I wanted to share a special tool that David and I have been using for over 2 years to manage our inventory on Amazon. The tool is called SoStocked, and it is a very powerful tool. It's designed specifically for inventory management. If you're in a physical products business selling on Amazon, you need to be in stock, especially with the inventory restrictions lately. This tool is incredibly powerful. If you're having trouble with inventory management, this might be a tool to help you. SoStocked is partnered with Firing Demand, and they've offered our guests, our listeners, a 30-day free trial. So click the link in the video description to get 30-day free trial. On to the video.
Welcome, everyone, to the Firing Demand podcast. On today's episode, we have the privilege to interview Liz Saunders from Fluencer Fruit. Liz has been in the Amazon world since 2016 as a seller, an affiliate, and more recently as an influencer. Liz loves sharing all the things she has learned in the Amazon ecosystem over the last decade with others who are trying to figure it all out. Welcome to the show, Liz.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So to start off the show, can you please share with our listeners a little bit about your background and your path on Amazon?
Absolutely. So in 2016, I launched my first Amazon product as a third-party private label seller. I launched disposable rain ponchos for kids. And at the time, I launched with 1-packs, and little did I know that the FBA fees were going to be so high that those were not profitable. So took a quick step back, bundled them, did all the things that we now know, like make a lot of sense for new sellers, and ended up being profitable as a single mom, paid my mortgage with my disposable rain ponchos for kids, which was a really fun experience. So got started there. And then about a year into my seller journey, I had the opportunity, I had Greg Mercer of Jungle Scout, and started working for him and have been there since then. So during the day, I help sellers with tools. And then in the evenings, and my side hustle now is I do retail arbitrage. I've done Amazon merch. I've been an Amazon affiliate. And more recently, about a year ago, a friend of mine was like, hey, you love all things Amazon. I have one for you. It's the Amazon Influencer Program. So the last 12, 14 months or so, I've been playing with the Amazon Influencer Program and learned a ton, and that kind of brings us up to where we're at right now.
Excellent. So Liz, can you share with the audience at a high level, what is the Amazon Influencer Program? And then we can kind of get into more after that.
Absolutely. So you'll hear me say Amazon Influencer like a bazillion times because they named the program Amazon Influencer, and people are constantly being like, is it an influencer? Is it like, so it is influencers that live specifically on Amazon. It is a offshoot of their affiliate program. So if you're an affiliate, it doesn't mean that you're an Amazon influencer, but you can be both. So basically, in order to qualify as an Amazon influencer, you apply and you have an audience on either Instagram or Facebook, a business account, TikTok or YouTube are the 4 platforms that they accept from. The minimum numbers they haven't given us, so I just use the term they want a meaningful audience. So engaged numbers, no minimums that we know of. And then the way that this works for the part where sellers will be interested, right, is if you've looked at any of your listings recently, in that upper carousel, you see your videos and then related videos immediately underneath that. Those are usually Amazon influencers. Next to their names, it will say earns commission. So influencers are uploading videos directly to their Amazon influencer account. And if they are approved for on-site placement, then they get placed onto product listings in a couple different places, which we can talk about. And then the influencer can make money by driving traffic just like a traditional affiliate would. But the kind of win for the influencer is that we also make money off of traffic that is already on your listing looking to buy. So if you are selling dog toys and I have done a review for your dog toy, if somebody is there looking at your listing, they watch my video and then buy your product, I make a 1% to 4% commission without ever having driven that traffic. I'm just there to help people looking at your products make a decision about if they should buy yours or a different option.
This is really interesting and something I, as an Amazon seller, didn't know a lot about. So as we're going through conversation, let's kind of attack this from 2 angles. One, from the perspective of a seller. And let's start there. Why is this valuable, and how can a brand leverage this program to drive more traffic and more sales?
Absolutely. Amazon is pouring a ton of money into the Amazon influencer program right now. And so what we don't have a ton of in part of the ecosystem, right, is a lot of like metrics that would help support some of this conversation. But what I can tell you is Amazon always focuses on the buyer experience, right? And whether we talk about that as because they want people to buy more things or because they want people to have a good buying experience, if Amazon is pouring money into it, they're seeing results for people spending money on the platform. Right? Like we've seen that for years now. So one, Amazon wants more content on your listing that is specific to your product. This is one way to get it. I draw it back to, I'm sure you guys remember this, but do you remember when we could do incentivized written reviews? Of course, now we can no longer incentivize, we can no longer rebate, we can get mixed reviews or mixed results from the Vine program, right? People have like kind of mixed experiences there. And then we move over to Amazon Influencer. We are FTC compliant. We are Amazon Terms of Service compliant. You can work directly with the influencer. You can pay them for the review, right? And then you can talk to them about what you want highlighted of your product. For me, it's reminiscent of like 2015 when we could be a little bit more persuasive. And I'm not saying like, don't tell them what to say. That never works, right? That's not authentic. But like, hey, I really want you to focus on like the way this water bottle opens, right? Like focus on that in your review or whatever it is that you focused on as the seller, as the competitive advantage you have in your category. The reason I think it's important to the sellers is I think it's just the new way for Amazon to drive reviews for your product.
Awesome. And I definitely agree. Like also video sells. Like people, like video is just it's hot right now. It's what everyone wants to see. And it's kind of like reviews. When you're shopping, you're looking at reviews, and if it's got a bunch of reviews, bunch of good reviews, and then video, someone saying, "Oh, hey, this is a good product because of this, this, and this." It's kind of like that tipping point. So you had mentioned like on the bottom of the PDP, it shows like a carousel with those videos. Are there any other placements, or is that where all of the placements are for those?
So there's actually a couple placements. So the first one is on the influencer storefront, right? So like when I upload something, I have a storefront that's just all of my videos. It's there. The other one is the carousel. So like when you go to the product listing, if the seller is brand registered, has that upper carousel kind of like unlocked for us, then there are 6 slots between seller and influencer that can be filled in that pop-up carousel. That's the next spot. That's on desktop. On mobile, the influencer video reviews are all the way underneath the written reviews right now. Amazon just recently made this switch. So we're no longer above the written reviews, we're at the very bottom. So that's a place. Inspire. Have you guys seen the Inspire shopping feed yet? They launched this in December, and this is something that influencers are building content for. This is something that sellers can build content for as well. And they're pulling your content whether you know they are or not. I'm going to show you guys, and I know this will be harder for the audience at home to like hear, but when you go into your shopping app, this little light bulb that is like the second icon next to your home, this is the Inspire feed. So they started it in December. It is not fully rolled out to every shopper's account. What is the reasoning for the rollout, or who has it and who doesn't? We don't know, but some people have it and some people don't. This is Amazon's move towards social shopping, right? So like if you scroll it, you can see like short videos, vertical content. It's intended to compete with TikTok and Instagram, right? They have been heavily incentivizing Amazon influencers to make vertical video content for the Inspire feed. And so you'll see that in my feed. Everybody's feed is different. In my feed, I'm about 40% seller content, 40% Amazon influencer content, and about 20% verified purchase reviews from customers. So those are the 3 types that we're currently seeing in there. They said that they wanted vertical content, but you can see they're still surfacing horizontal content, I think because they don't have the volume vertical yet to be the sole type of content on here. But they do videos and they do shoppable photos in there. And those are both things that sellers can produce and post to their brand account that will show up here.
A follow-up question on that. Where would the sellers in Seller Central go to post that?
I am going to have to show you an example, and then we may have to work on that offline and get some audience, because I haven't done it, but I have a friend who, like, from the very minute they started offering the ability to upload content, has been, and I see her all the time in my feed. So it's like if you go to a seller's store, right? And then you can see like all of their shoppable content, but all the way over in that more section is posts. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, under the posts.
Yep. So that's where it shows. So, and then that now is being used by Amazon to help populate the Inspire shopping feed.
So if, as I sit here personally, and I'm sure there are people listening, they're probably thinking, this sounds great. I would like to do this. I need to go out and find some influencers. Can you kind of break down the steps of how somebody, goes from learning about this program to executing on this program?
Absolutely. So there's a couple places that you can find influencers. So the first one is going to be looking at your listings first and looking at your closest competitors and go through and see if there are already influencers on your listings. You never know, there might be, right? And from there, if you find one that you're like, oh, I would like to work with this one, if you click on our name, it will actually bring up our storefront. In our storefront, there's not like a click here to contact me, which would be super convenient, but it is the only place that we are allowed to link to anything off Amazon. So just like sellers, Amazon does not want us driving traffic off site, right? But on our storefront, we are allowed to link to our TikTok or our Instagram or whatever else there. Click there, go talk to them on Instagram and message them and be like, I'm an Amazon seller. Here is my product. I think we would be a good fit. Let's talk about reviews, video reviews, and how we can work together. So that's one way. The other way is there are Facebook groups. There are Reddit threads. There's big groups of influencers where it's like, you can reach out to them. I'm trying to think of this is what I was going to think of, is creator connections. So this is an invite-only program. Are you guys familiar with it yet? It's very slowly rolling out, and it's still in that infancy stage where even the sellers and the influencers who know about it, it's kind of like, we don't really know what to do with it yet. But it's called Creator Connections or Creator Connections Hub or something like that. And basically it's invite-only for sellers, invite-only for Amazon influencers. And through there, you can actually create deals, listings, things that you want Amazon influencers to cover for you for an additional percentage of what comes in, and you have a budget, and there's a couple things. So if you find an influencer in there, sellers can't actually go search for them. So this is a little bit more like, if you build it, they will come, post it there and see if you get influencer interest. As an influencer, I can actually reach out to any seller there in the chat and ping you and be like, hey, I'm interested in working with you. But it doesn't seem to work the other way around yet. But as an example of how new this is, I think the hub has actually been around for a year. But if somebody replies to me in chat, in app, I don't get any sort of notification, So it's just kind of you have to go back in, check it. Sellers, I joke right now that I'm standing in the middle and educating as many Amazon influencers as I can about the seller journey and how selling works and what they're doing with product listings. And then on the other side, I'm talking to all of these sellers where it's okay, this is what's happening on the influencer side. We're trying to help. We want to create good content for you. And so it's this mix of the creator hub. What I hear most often is the influencers and the sellers, same boat, but they're a seller never responded to me. Well, what they don't know is the seller's not getting a notification, and the seller doesn't know what to do with the hub, right? How do we set our budget? Is it, the seller sold this or sent this to me late and I was after the promotion, so I didn't actually make anything off of it anyways. Well, the seller's on the other side going, I don't actually know yet. I sent it, but it was outside the time, but it was still active in the listing. So you can find influencers there. It's probably not the route that I would recommend unless you're probably like us, right? Where you're just wanting to test things and be aware of what's going on in that ecosystem. So those are my kind of top 3 that are available.
Now we know a couple different ways to find the influencer. So finding an influencer, and then is it you pay them a one-time fee, or do you give them a piece of commission? What does that look like to a seller?
That's a great question. So there's a couple ways you can do it. The one thing that I will tell you is I started working in the blogosphere in 2007, right? And right about that time, you could still trade a product with a blogger for a review, right? And then it was in that moment, it was no, now I have a fee and this is what I know I can bring to the thing. So I would say we're currently in that transition. If you went out, it is possible that you could find find one depending on your product that was like, I would do this for a small fee or in exchange for the product, right? Like price-wise dependent. For me, where I kind of draw the line is it depends on your product. I normally charge a fee, and I want to make sure that your listing is set up for success for both of us, right? Like there are a lot of things on the actual seller's product page that help control like how my review does. Interestingly, there are not a ton of things that I do other than provide good content that change how my video performs. Thumbnails, length, any of those sorts of things. It has more to do with the seller's page and how they've set it up impacts most of how my videos perform. So I would say we're past the point if you want to actively work with an influencer that's going to be a partner and be able to contribute meaningfully, where you should go to them and say, will you trade this for product? If you can show me like sales, I can probably think you're going to have this type of volume. We don't quite have the metrics on the back end yet to prove those things. If you have a high selling product that you feel like this is probably going to do well, you could probably keep your fees, in line with that. And then if you have something that you're launching, just know that it's going to take the influencer a long time to make up the time that they spent to like review and everything by the time you know how that product's doing. So you probably want to pay a little bit more for that.
One quick follow-up on that. And so depending on the product, if you have a couple $100 product that maybe everybody could use,
Yep.
you might get an exchange for that. If you're selling products that are sub $20, you're probably gonna have to pay a fee, right?
Yep.
And so would it be helpful if someone came to you as an influencer and said, hey, I've got this product here. Our conversion rate is 37% and we sell X amount of dollars per month on this product. Would that be like something an influencer would want to hear?
For me, yes. For most influencers, probably not. Most of the influencers are like, what kind of money am I going to make off of this? So like where I can probably translate that, just because I've lived in the seller world for so long, I think most influencers are going to want to know like what the fee is. And the other piece that's interesting in this conversation, like holistically, is our commissions are attached to your product category. And so how like when you create a product, like the 78 ways that you can pick the category that it goes into, right? Like the example I give right now is like bookshelves for kids. So some of those live in the baby category and some of them live in household, right? Well, it's not a huge difference, but one of those is 2%, one of those is 2.25%, right? So like if I'm looking through, if I'm an influencer and you're approaching me, like most often when I look at your product listing, if I can see that you have A+ content, you're brand registered, you have seller video that's already there, 1 or 2 at the top there, that's creating that like people are already clicking in. You've got good ratings. You've been around for, more than 10 seconds on the platform. Like those are the things that I go in and I look at on your product listing that I'm probably going to be able to be like, all right, I'm going to make commission off of this. So I would charge you a lower fee, right? So like to give you an idea, like when people approach me just off the street, I start at like $100 a video. There are a ton of agents in all of the Facebook Messenger groups of every influencer that are like, we'll do this for free. We'll do this for free product. Here's $20, right? Like, so you can still find that type of interaction, but I find those relationships to just be less meaningful and you're not working with that same level of relationship between the seller and the influencer there.
So based on the sellers that you've worked with, what tends to happen once they enroll in this, once they get some influencers? Is there any general increase in revenue that you've observed or what's the impact of running this program?
That's a great question. So I'm actually in process right now of running a case study with sellers and Amazon influencers where we've taken like 5 or 6 sellers and I've got 6 influencers and we are trying to figure out what the correlation is, right? Because we know it's there, right? There's no way that Amazon would have this there if it's not impacting sales, if it's not impacting keyword rank, if it's not, you know what I mean? Like there's no other reason for them to do it unless it was impacting sales. So what I can tell you is I believe that it is, but once this case study is done, I'll have some like actual figures for you. We've got 6 influencers, couple sellers. We're doing like a timed drop where we are we've got 5 products from each of the sellers. And like each week, I've got 6 videos dropping onto all 5 of their products at the same time, basically, so that we can figure out like how it impacts those listings. And some of them are brand registered and some of them are not. And some of them have been around for a long time and some of them launched in November. So I'm trying to take like a very broad view of the product listing segments and test them against putting this content on there.
I really appreciate that answer because it's pointing to data and actual examples. And so no, I appreciate that answer. And we'll have to have you back on to hear the results of that. Well, very nice. Over to you, Ken.
Yeah, sure. So one thing, yes, I'm definitely very curious to see that data, to see if there's spikes and how all that looks. I want to go back a little bit to, let's say we find an influencer, we partner with them,
Yep.
They want $100. So how, on the influencer's homepage, you said it has a link to their social profile. So as a seller, I could go look and see like, okay, influencer A has, 40,000 TikTok followers. And so like, I'm just trying to figure out like, how do I kind of calculate how much traffic is this influencer going to be able to bring to my listing? How would a seller look at that? Or kind of like, maybe, like it's in beta, there's really no metrics that are that good yet, but how can we give it a guesstimate?
So I kind of split this conversation into 2 pieces, and that's one is some of the influencers are driving traffic, right? And I would consider them mostly niche influencers. So like I have a TikTok for my dog. I am an approved Amazon influencer. And when I drive traffic, it's dog related. They're niched, right? And so if you want somebody who's driving traffic, like that's probably a good way to see. Like you can tell generally, right? There's not metrics or numbers like what they're pushing towards. And if you're working with an influencer that has that good TikTok account for dogs, like talk to them about working with their off Amazon account as well, right? Like the thing is there's Amazon terms of service, but in this sense, there's not a rule that says you only work with them on Amazon. Like if they have the ability to drive off-site traffic, I would definitely talk to them about that as well. Like they could be doing both for you. It's just a price situation at that point of like those numbers they'll be like, this is my audience. This is what I drive in engagement. Like TikTok, I think has much better like metrics capabilities, right, than like the back end of Amazon influencer at the moment. So that's one piece. Then there are others, and this is where I would consider myself as a side hustle enthusiast for the last year, right, is I would consider myself a general influencer. So like the Instagram that I'm approved with is like a health, wellness, and fitness like Instagram. I don't only review health and wellness related products on here. I review everything that I buy and bring into my house. Like I'm driving some traffic, like sometimes I'll do that, but that's not like my main focus. My main focus is making money on Amazon from on-site traffic. So you've got those 2. And where I would split this again is it kind of depends on where our goals are, right? Again, 2. One is, do you want somebody who is driving traffic? For sure. That's like a great thing to have them do. The other thing is what kind of juice does having Amazon influencer content give your listing, right? And that's what we're trying to quantify right now. We know that it does. Amazon has always leaned towards figuring out how to do reviews better so that shoppers like them and get more information from them. But so I would kind of split those goals out, right? Like one is the content on your listing. One is driving traffic. So that's your influencer versus your affiliate. One person could do both of those, or that it could be 2 separate conversations.
And that definitely something just like anything else, like testing it out and kind of see what's happening. But I like your pro tip on using that. If you have a good relationship with that influencer, using that for offsite as well. Like, hey, by the way, what is your offsite? Can I pay another fee for the offsite one? And David, over to you.
Can you tell us a little bit about Fluencer Fruit, what services you offer?
Absolutely. So I'll start with for the Amazon influencers. You kind of picked up on like, I love data and I love data-driven decisions. And so as I got into this, started noticing that, like I said, like the product listing has more to do with the success of my video than if I have a thumbnail or if I'm doing vertical or horizontal content. And so I developed a tool. It's a Chrome extension that helps Amazon influencers pick the best listings for them to review. So I created a scoring technique that is basically a proprietary algorithm. I can tell you like which factors on the page influence my commission the most and how it weights for my overall commissions. And so it's just like, it's changed the way I shop, right? Like I'm a true side hustler. So like when I make a purchase on Amazon, I want to make sure that I'm picking the one that is the best for me to review. So I have a Fruity score on there. It's 0 to 100. I'm looking for anything over 70, right? Is kind of where I like to land. So that's one piece of it, right? And if you click on the extension as an influencer, it's going to give you a Fruity score. It's going to tell you how much your commission is per purchase of that item based on your conversions. It's going to tell you if they have that upper carousel, right? And they're going to tell you if there are other influencers on it and how many of that carousel is open for influencers. So like if the seller has 2 videos and there are no other influencers, I have 4 open slots. That's a good opportunity for me, right? So that's what I do for the influencers. And the other piece is on behalf of the Amazon influencers, I'm trying hard to work with Amazon sellers and win as a collective on Amazon. So for the sellers, though, one of the things that I do is I will do like an audit of your listing to help you make sure that your listing is optimized for the influencers who are shopping your category so that you can organically attract shoppers that are influencers. And then the other thing that I do is connect sellers with influencers. So specifically like 6 influencers. If you have no influencers already on your product, I'll put it together where you just work with me, coordinate, I'll send you the addresses, work with you on what you want highlighted, and then I'll coordinate with the 6 influencers so that your carousel is immediately full and has all of that user-generated content within terms of service.
I think that's brilliant. Actually, you took your Amazon selling experience and kind of translated it into like, hey, influencers, this is what you need to be doing. And so I think that's brilliant. That's awesome.
Thank you.
For every guest, Liz, we send them through the ringer in what's called a fire round. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What is your favorite book?
Okay, recency bias, but I have 2, Spare by Prince Harry and I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy.
Okay, awesome. What are your hobbies?
Paddleboarding and starting side hustles and buying the domain names for them.
I like that one. That sounds like an entrepreneur there. What is one thing that you do not miss about working for the man?
I do not miss the rigidity of corporate life. I will forever be a startup or an entrepreneur, solopreneur person.
That's awesome. Last one. What do you think sets apart successful e-commerce entrepreneurs from those who give up, fail, or never get started?
Man, it's just the Dory situation, right? Like you just got to keep swimming. Like being in the Amazon world since 2016, like the algorithm's going to change. Competitors are coming in. They're going to change the way you get reviews. You just have to keep going. And like there is success as you keep going.
Excellent. David, over to you to close out the show. And I think Liz has something special to share.
Yeah, absolutely. So Liz, if people are interested in working with Fluencer Fruit, what would be the best way?
Absolutely. So fluencerfruit.com/fire the man. I've got a page set up for you guys there. You can book a call with me for the free audit of your product listing just to talk about like how to optimize that for influencers. And then there is a way to, of course, work with me past that. So a 10% off discount for any of your listeners who would like to progress past the audit call and move forward.
Awesome. We'll post links to all that in the show notes. Liz, want to thank you for being a guest on the Firing the Man podcast, and we're looking forward to staying in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for watching this video. If you got some value out of this, would you please hit the like and subscribe button? This is a free way to support the show, and it really helps us build our audience.